Hi, and welcome to the Thrive Alcohol Free podcast. I'm Dupe Witherick, alcohol free wellbeing and transformational coach, and the best selling author of A Cocktail of Clarity, How to Ditch Drinking, Embody a Joyful New Identity, and Thrive Alcohol Free. This podcast will show you that being alcohol-free is not what the traditional narrative says. And even though alcohol is so ingrained in our society that it is okay to give yourself permission to stop drinking if you want to. And you do not have to wait until you hit rock bottom. It is certainly not boring, and I believe ditching drinking is just the start to living an extraordinary life. By getting rid of this one thing, it allows the doors to open to endless possibilities and opportunities. Each week, we will have guests on who are at various stages of the alcohol-free journey, from those who are curious to those who have been alcohol-free for years. We will also have experts on talking about different topics relating to alcohol and beyond. Through these conversations, you will discover what it means to thrive alcohol-free. Enjoy. Hi, and welcome to the latest episode of the Thrive Alcohol Free podcast. I'm Dupe, your host, and I'm delighted you're here. So thank you so much for listening. Would you believe this is our 20th episode? So very exciting that we've hit 20 episodes. And I just want to say thank you so much for listening week in, week out, and looking forward to bringing many more episodes to you as well. So it's the end of Dry January. Dry January has finished. Congratulations if you have completed Dry January. I wonder how you feel and what benefits you've seen over the 31 days. It's really interesting because when it comes to the end of Dry January, there are people that will maybe go back to drinking straight away. There are others who may continue for a couple of weeks or for a month or two. And I wonder what you're planning on doing. I would absolutely suggest taking a break for longer and getting to 90 or 100 days, because I truly believe that's when the magic starts to happen and you see the true benefits of not drinking. And so I'm sure you've seen some benefits over the past month, which is amazing, and you have done incredibly well. It's a fantastic achievement and you should be really proud of yourself. But why stop here? Why go back to it? Why not just continue and see how you feel? So I encourage you to do that, and maybe to help you along the way, you may want to join the 21-day alcohol-free kickstart that I'm running again this month. If you are thinking I want to continue, but you'd like some one-to-one coaching and some group coaching and to meet some other like-minded people, then why not join the 21-day challenge? It's also for people who are curious. So if you haven't done Dry January, but you've been thinking actually it might be time to take a break, then again, you can join the 21-day challenge, and we really cover a number of things. Let me just give you a few things. You'll absolutely gain a clear understanding on the impact of alcohol and what it's doing on your day-to-day life and how to break that cycle. You'll also learn how to beat the cravings when they come. And so if you are someone who at the end of the day just automatically reaches for a drink, I'll give you some tools and tips to help you with that. You'll also discover how to navigate alcohol-free firsts and those awkward social events that you think you're going to have. And then you'll have practical tools to help you enjoy taking that 21-day break so it doesn't feel like you're white-knuckling it or that you are depriving yourself in some way. So if you have been doing Dry January, but you feel like you've just been holding on for dear life, then I'm actually going to help you see that there is a way of enjoying it and not having to white knuckle it through. So I'll give you those tools and tips. And then finally, it really is a time to give yourself permission to explore whether being alcohol free is something you want to do longer term. And I believe that if you can have some support and guidance along the way, it really helps. So what's included, you'll get one-to-one coaching session for self-reflection and understanding where you are with alcohol. We do 3 live group coaching sessions to learn tools to make not drinking feel as easy and enjoyable as possible. And you also will then have the opportunity to ask questions and be coached on something that may have come up during the week. You get daily inspiration with tips, journal prompts and motivational quotes to keep what you're doing front of mind and reflect on the Kickstart journey as you go. And then there's community support where you'll have the opportunity to hear the challenges that others are facing, and then you can give each other accountability as well. You also get my book. So that is A Cocktail of Clarity, How to Ditch Drinking, Embody a Joyful New Identity and Thrive Alcohol-Free. And this will help you to really delve further into an alcohol-free lifestyle and will hopefully inspire you further. And then you'll also get practical goodies, including a 21-day journal. You will get a tracker. You'll also get podcasts, apps, and Quitlet recommendations as well. And then finally, there's going to be a bonus celebration group session where we can reflect on and celebrate the 21 days. And then also it gives you the opportunity to think, what will you do next? For that value, it is a really special price. So if this is something you are looking for, then I have the link to it in the show notes, and don't miss out. It starts next Tuesday, the 6th of February. So feel free to join, and I look forward to seeing you on that. Okay, so we have an amazing guest. I really enjoyed the conversation with this person, and I think it's really appropriate for people that are just finishing dry January, actually, because it's such a fun conversation full of nuggets that will hopefully inspire you to go longer and to do those 90, 100 days, as I've said. So my guest today is Ken Middleton, and he is obsessed with helping people build the best version of themselves. Ever since he experienced a tremendous turnaround from an entrepreneurial endeavor when he gave up alcohol on November 10th, 2018, his mission has been to help others realize alcohol is probably the one thing that's holding them back from realizing all their dreams. And so he started the Medium publication Alcohol is Not Your Friend, AINYF, in May of 2020 for this reason. And he is the author of the book Bamboozled, How Alcohol Makes Fools of Us All, which exposes the subtle tactics and traps of alcohol and the alcohol industry while giving the reader the tools to overcome them. I hope you enjoy this 20th episode with Ken and it inspires you to keep going. So without further ado, here is the conversation with Ken. Hi, Ken. Thank you so much for being on the Thrive Alcohol-Free podcast. It's wonderful to have you on as a guest. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Well, there's so much that we want to cover on this episode, and I'm excited for it. But before we start, for those who don't know you, why don't you give a bit of background of your story and what sort of brings you here today?
Yeah. I'll walk you through the origin story, as they say, in regards to how did I become the person that I am today and what was I like before. So to just give you a 10,000 foot view in the Reader's Digest version, I tell people, I discovered alcohol when I was a freshman in college, but a sophomore. And for me, Dupe, alcohol was everything that it was advertised to be. I mean, I was the quintessential freshman student who, and I tell people this all the time, it wasn't that I was shy, but I wasn't the person that I thought I wanted to be or could be. I wasn't the funniest guy in the room. I wasn't the coolest guy in the room. I was a little apprehensive when it came to dancing, and I didn't drink in high school at all. But in college, and I didn't even drink my freshman year, which, believe that or not, did not drink your freshman year in college. That's insane. I did
Impressive.
not.
Very
I know.
impressive.
I made it through that. But when I was 19, one of my friends were at a party. He was like, man, won't you loosen up? You want to go talk to that girl? Here, have a beer and loosen up. And I was like, Willis, you're like, dude, just try it and see what happens. So I was like, okay, let me try it. Boom, 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 drink. But life changed. Like, star of the party, dancing, could talk to the opposite sex. Like, it was everything I could have ever imagined. I mean, it was just great. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I graduate college and then I go into sales. And I tell people all the time, I always say this, if you think undergrad or college is getting your undergrad when it comes to drinking, sales in your profession is your master's, because That's what they expect you to do. You take your clients out, you drink, and you get paid for it. It's
Yeah, so
absolutely
true.
ridiculous. And once again, I was enjoying it. I was living a great life, making good money, right? In sales, if you're able to schmooze and connect with people, that's part of why you make money, right? So I was fairly successful. Where things change, and I tell people all the time, I'm very lucky that this happened. I decided to leave my company and try to start my own business, right? An entrepreneurship endeavor. And for anyone that's done it and you're doing it and going through it yourself, and I know you understand it, when you're working for yourself, it is really hard because you are everything. You are your CPA, you are your HR person, you are the marketing, you're everything. And I was working to pay 80, 90 hours a week, just trying to get this thing off the ground. I'm running, and I'm making no money, like little to savings account dwindling. And I'm like, okay. And then a year goes by of me running, not really being successful. And I said, okay, I might have to go back to corporate America. But if I go back to corporate America, I want to say that I've given it everything I needed. And I always knew, even though I didn't think I had a drinking problem, that drinking was not servicing me as well when, as far as me being productive the next day. That hangover was making me a little slower. That a cloud in my head, I couldn't process things as quickly. And I said, you know what? What if I gave up drinking for 90 days and see what it does for me? I really wanted to see, so similar to your story, Dupay. It was a test. I never said I'm not going to drink again. It was like, let me just try it out. Let me see what happens. 90 days. I really want to focus on my work, on my business, and make and see, because I knew that it wasn't helping me make money. So I knew in someone was holding me back. I always had that feeling in the back of my head. So I stopped drinking. I told my wife, we had gone out with a couple friend of ours. I told her that night we had got back. I said, hey, babe, I think I'm just going to stop drinking for 3 months because I just want to make sure in 90 days I focus on my business and I want to see what happens. And luckily, she was my girlfriend at the time. I married her since then because I recognized she was amazing. She did it with me. It was like, I got you. Let's do it together because I've been feeling the same way. Like it's a little too much. Like we should cut back. Let's do it together. So we don't drink to pay for 90 days. And I tell you, I made more money in those 3 months than I had made in the previous 9 months of the previous calendar year. And it wasn't just a little bit more money. We're talking lots of more money, tons of more money, exponentially more money. And I was like, okay, there's something here. This is important. I need to listen. And this is making a difference. And I was like, I need to look at this a little closer. The other thing that happened while I was going through that journey of not drinking, I read Annie Grace's This Naked Mind. Taking a flight to Dublin, Ireland. We had 7 hours on the plane, and I said, I need to kill some time. I opened that book. I think I had a Kindle at the time. I read it. And what opened my eyes, Dupay, and what changed everything is that prior to reading that book by Annie, I thought that there was two schools of thought, two dichotomies with alcohol. Either you drink and you're fine, or you drink and you're an alcoholic. But I just didn't know there was such a big spectrum. And you don't have to be an alcoholic, but you're still scientifically being negatively affected in so many ways because of alcohol. And that Annie's book brought that to light. And I thought about my sleep, how it was being affected by alcohol, my exercise and my health and how my fitness was being affected. I thought about my mental cognition and how I wasn't able to think as quickly as I wanted to at times. And as I age, how it can get worse. And I was like, you know what? I've had better sleep, better exercise, better health, and I've been able to think so much better over these last 90 days. Why would I ever go back to what I was doing before? And that was it, where I was like, I want to see how far and how much I could grow from doing this. And I said, I'm going to do 6 months. 6 months turned to 9 months. Now 9 months turned into a year. And then I was like, there's no way I'm going back. And then the excitement of it said, all right, man, I wish somebody would have told me this when I was in college. Why didn't someone tell me when I was 18 and 19 and someone offered me that beer? Hey, man, you can drink if you want to, right? But let me make sure you're aware of all the ways that this could negatively affect you, right? I want you to understand that. Now, if you want to drink, drink, but I just want to make sure you have the knowledge. I didn't have the knowledge. So I started a publication called Alcohol is Not Your Friend, which really was the antithesis of how I experienced it in college, because it was my best friend in college. But when I wrote this publication, it seems like your friend, but let me explain to you all the way that while it looks like it's helping you short term, it's hurting you long term. And that publication was really around kind of highlighting the science around alcohol, the effects of it, and just to make sure everyone understands these are the ways that you're trading your benefit because of this party time or whatever short benefit you feel like you're getting from alcohol. I started that in May of 2020. I was turning 40 at the time. That was when I started that. And then that led to me saying, why don't I put all of this into one location, one single location? And that's led to me writing the book. It was like, I want to write a book. And primarily, I would love to give it into the hands of college students because, like I said, if I would have known this at college, would I have still drank? Yeah, I probably would have still drank. I ain't gonna say because I had a lot of good fun and stories from drinking, right? I ain't gonna front on that one. However, I feel like one wouldn't have drank as much, and two would have known that there would have been a moment in my life that I would have stopped drinking because I knew that it wasn't serving me long term, and just to make better decisions. So that's why I wrote Bamboozled. That's why I'm here talking to you today.
Amazing. Yeah, it's so funny. We did think that we were getting something from it because otherwise why would we have done it?
What we
You
doing?
know, you said you went from being quite shy to dancing, being the star of the party, being able to go up to girls and talk to them and not worry about it. So of course, everyone thought it's the best thing ever. But to your point, Annie Grace's book wasn't around at the time, and we weren't told. And it's so ingrained in our society that that's the next thing to do. And once you're an adult, this is what you do as an adult. And to your point, you then go into the world of work and it's the same. And people are pushing it on you, and you're being told that in order to sell, you need to have a couple of drinks with your clients and you need to show them a good time. And everything else, you need to schmooze them. Otherwise, they won't
Yeah.
buy from you. And again, you think about that, and that just seems ridiculous, doesn't it?
That's just such an important point we talk about in the book. From a marketing perspective, we are indoctrinated at a very young age to believe that not only is it the natural part of what we should do next, but if we don't do it, we're actually missing out on life as life is supposed to be lived, as
Yeah.
opposed to it understanding how much of a dangerous drug it is that will put us all in bad position if we drink too much of it consistently.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And I thought I'd touch on because this always fascinates me. It's really interesting when it comes to relationships. And you mentioned that your girlfriend at the time, now your wife,
Yeah,
decided to stop with you. She decided to take those nights, and that's quite unusual. So I stopped drinking. And again, I always say to anyone who's listening, don't not do it because your partner's not doing it or because your friend's not doing it. If you're doing this, do it for you.
do it for
But
you.
gosh, it must be so helpful.
Dupe, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I don't know unequivocally if I could have done it if my wife hadn't done it with me. I just got to be honest because you're right. It is so much more challenging. So it sounds like your husband didn't do it with you at the time. Or that
No,
was
he
that's
didn't.
that's amazing. So you are a strong person, my lady.
But so I'm just over 3 years alcohol free now. I stopped in November 2020, and he is just over a year. He stopped just after I was 2 years alcohol free. So it's
Yeah.
amazing. The ripple effect can happen, but
Yeah.
certainly you have to just do it and make it non-negotiable for you and know your why, and you can do it. You can do it. But I love the fact that you had your girlfriend, wife with you. So tell me, so you don't think you could have done it without her? Tell me
Couldn't have
the
done it without it.
reason.
Yeah, because for me, it was around drinking was a social activity. Drinking was what I did to relax, to have fun with my friends. It was pretty much everything that I did. So once you took that away from me, I had all of this free time that I didn't know what the hell to do with. I was like, where do these hours come from in the day? Like, someone explain to me what has been going on? And then I started to do the math. I wrote an article about it. Now that I think about it, I was spending 6 to 8 hours a day, maybe drinking, because if you think about the days you went out, you would pregame, that would be like an hour and a half. Then you got the Uber ride, which is like 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back. That's another hour. Then you got 2 to 3 hours at the establishment that you're going to. So now we're up to 7. And then you got the hour and a half waiting for your Uber Eats food to be delivered to you. So you got 8 or 9 hours that now I don't have to, I have that I can do anything with. And I was like, okay, I got to find something to do. So my wife, the reason it worked out that I needed my wife, because with all of that free time, then I had to find new ways to spend my time. And the reality was, with some of my former friends, great people, but we just couldn't hang out anymore because they didn't want to do any of the things that I was starting to explore that I never would do before, like going to the museums. I couldn't call up my home and be like, "Hey, man, you want to go to the High Museum with me? Look at some art." What? No, he was not going to take that phone call. So my wife, luckily, she was my ride or die, and we would go and walk together and just have talks. And for us, I say, and I would think she would agree, it made our relationship so much deeper because it's crazy. We were best friends partying together too. So we're best friends now, but we were best friends partiers too. That's part of why we had a great relationship, because we partied hard together. Like we went out and we partied like champions. She drank as much as I did. We would take shots together. And it would be like, "You want to go out?" It'll be a Tuesday afternoon. I'd be like, "Man, I feel like going out tonight." She was like, "I feel like going out too." And boom, we on the streets. So it was so much better because when you're drinking, it's fun and you're having a good time, but you're not really having serious conversations. You're not really diving into each other's soul, right? You're just talking about just how the alcohol makes you feel. So when we didn't have that, but we were still spending the same amount of time together, it turned into these very serious conversations, just of us getting to know each other, just of us talking about our dreams in life and what we want to accomplish. And we just say it allowed us to become closer because we were really learning who the other person was, not just a partying version of each other, but who we were to our core. And without her, like, I just don't think I would have been able to get through it, because you just need somebody that when you're exploring that new version of yourself, they're exploring that along with you. And you just don't want to feel like you're doing it by yourself. Like you can, obviously, you are example of proof that you can. But I tell people, if you want to make it a little bit less challenging, and I'm all about trying to make it less challenging, try to find someone who can do it with you, because it's just going to make that journey so much easier.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, I love that. And it is challenging doing it on your own, I have to say, and it did get to the point where, as well as having the time, you just notice more, don't
Oh
you? As
God,
well, you're so
yeah,
much more aware.
it's
And
amplified.
absolutely. And early on for me, I was really aware of the fact that my husband would just drink in an evening. He would have his gin and tonic, and that's what he did. And I was thinking, I
Hmm.
don't want to do that. I don't want to sit in front of the telly. That's not what I want to do. So I would take myself off and read a book or go to bed early or whatever, just to not do that. So kudos to your wife. She sounds amazing. So
No,
well,
well, kudos to
yeah,
you for making it happen, and eventually you won him over. So that is the real testament, right? He saw what you were experiencing, and he's
yeah,
like, "Yeah, something's going on in the last year and a half, so I need
yeah,
some of that." So, 100%,
yeah,
kudos to you.
yeah. Thank you. Okay, so what I love is we're really similar. So we have a very similar message as well
Yeah.
in terms of not needing to wait until you get that health scare or you hit rock bottom. You said you stopped because you thought it might be worth doing because it might help your
Hmm.
business and you didn't want to go back to the corporate world without trying everything you could. So
Everything.
that was fundamental. But once you stopped, what did you start seeing that made you think actually people shouldn't wait until rock bottom? They can
Yeah.
choose.
The biggest thing is just experiencing a almost like life in high definition,
Mm.
because I've been drinking I started when I was 38. I started when I was 19. So for those 19 years, Dupe, I had no concept of that I was living life in a haze. And they say you can't see the forest for the trees. When I stopped drinking for 90 days and all of a sudden I'm starting experiencing the world, everything was so heightened. My senses were heightened. My mental cognition was heightened, as I shared earlier. I mean, shit, sex was better. Hopefully I can curse. But you think sex is good with alcohol, and it is, but you need to try it without alcohol because your senses are numb when you're doing it with alcohol. But when you don't have alcohol and you do it, you actually get to experience the world in all of its glory. And then, so for me, it was like, man, I wish someone would have told me this earlier, because all this time I thought that I was living life, and I guess I was in some respects, but there's this other area of life that I wasn't seeing that now I can experience. And I can really explore everything that the world has to offer that I didn't recognize before. A great example of this, or a testament to this, is that when we used to go traveling, Dupe, me and my wife, we would go and we love to travel now. We love to travel then when we were drinking. But when we used to travel when we were drinking, we would go to San Francisco. And I remember this specific time we went to San Francisco, and we would just go find a bar that you could play pool in. We'll go to the jukebox and play music. And then we would drink like not all day, but 6 hours of the day, right? Go to Portland or Seattle at the time. Did the exact same thing in Seattle. Go to Atlanta where we live. So we would do the same things. We would go to different cities, but do the same thing. And we thought we were living life, but that wasn't really living life. And so when I stopped drinking and I wasn't going to the bars all the time with my friends, I wasn't sitting in front of the television watching a sports game, killing 3 or 4 hours watching the game that I'm passively watching, doesn't really affect my life, but I'm going to spend 3 hours of my time invested in it. All of a sudden, I said, man, I'd rather go, like I shared before, go to the museum and see what that's about, do this festival, read this book and get this information. Like, it just, where I thought I was living life for those 19 years, once I got out of the fog and recognized what life was like without it and how you can experience a much deeper, higher definition of what it was, I was like, man, everyone needs to know this. And I wish I would have experienced it earlier, but now that I have it, definitely not going to give it up. And I'm going to continue to lean into it as much as I can to get as much of it as I can.
Mm. And I think that's amazing. And some people talk about the film Limitless, and it's like
That's
taking
it.
that pill and you suddenly see that brightness and everything's in high
You
definition,
see
as
in
you say.
numbers.
It's
Yeah.
it's amazing. And you can do that. You don't need to take a pill, just stop drinking. It's that simple.
All you need to do, people. I use that analogy in the book, as a matter of fact, about limitless. That's a perfect example of what it's like once you stop drinking. And this is what I want to tell people, because it seems to level out. And listen, it's going to be meteoric initially, right? Because you're going to go from stop putting the poison into your body to being your body clean. So that experience is going to be great. And it's going to feel like it levels off, and it will in some respect, but it's still going though, and you still are growing, and you still have higher heights to reach if you just continue to stay the path and give yourself time.
Yeah. Okay, so for the person listening who is getting excited and has been thinking about it and thinking maybe I do want to stop drinking, take a break for a little bit, what would be your top 3 tips to get started and do that 90-day? What did you do that was helpful, that kept you on that 90-day journey?
It's so funny you asked that question. I don't know if you were reading my mind there, Dupe, but that is, I love that question, because I have been thinking about that, and I just wrote an article about it. So there's a new challenge I'm going to ask people, or challenge people to do, called a Dry 90 Challenge, that's around not drinking for 90 days. I love 90 days because I feel like it gives enough time for the compounding effects of alcohol to hit you. Like, dry January is cool and everyone does it, and it's cool to do this time around a year, but I think 90 days is even better, because you then give yourself that chance to really experience how your sleep gets better, your fitness gets better, your eating gets better, relationships get better. Financially, you can say, look how much money I saved over 90 days. That's a big deal. So there's 3 things I tell people to do. There's 3 things in general in regards to not drinking. you need to exercise for 30 minutes. I just believe that, and this we can talk about the meds, which is my analogy to quit, but it's exercise for 30 minutes every day if you can. That's just most important for you to exercise. Second is to read something about alcohol consciousness. So you can either get my girl DePay's book, The Cocktail of Clarity, which I highly recommend, by the way. Look at this cover. How amazing is
Thank
that?
you.
I love it. It's such a beautiful cover. That or Ken Middleton's Bamboozled, How Alcohol
Of
Makes Fools of Us
course.
All.
I'd
Like, right?
recommend that one,
I can't
definitely.
throw that out. Can't not throw myself out there or Annie Grace's or anybody. So one, exercise for 30 minutes. The reason you need to exercise is when you're stop drinking, physical fitness, the cravings you're going to get, you're going to need something to replace it. Exercise helps. And I just believe in health. I think if you want to really be healthy or really live a good life, exercise has to be a part of your daily consistent strategy, right? So exercise 30 minutes. Second, read 30 minutes a day from a book that is educating you about alcohol. Like that is what you need to do. Because it's part of what the meds is called mental reengineering, where you need to change your mindset about what your relationship with alcohol is. And it starts in your mind first. And you do that by understanding that this is how alcohol is affecting you physiologically. This is science. Don't believe me. Don't believe DuPay. Let's share with you some scientific fact of what this is doing for you. So you can see it, you can understand it, and you can attest to it. And then third, and this is part of the meds as well, it's called success seeking. Find a new hobby. You asked me earlier about my wife and how she helped me with that extra time. You got to find something to spend your time doing
Mm.
because over that 90-day period, I'm just going to be straight up with you. It's going to be challenging for you to, it could be to go hang out with your friends if all they want to do is go and drink. Because when you're new in the alcohol consciousness or sobriety, being out at a bar every day, all day, or once a week, it could be hard for you to stay wholesome, right? And if you want to be successful, don't put yourself in that situation. So find a hobby, find something that you always wanted to do that you never had time to do, whether it be writing and improve your writing, whether it be drawing, whether it be learning a new language, playing an instrument. I don't care what it is. Find something that you can invest your time in that you can help grow yourself over those 90 days. Because not only, so when you don't drink, the alcohol is going to slowly be taken out of your system, out of your mind. The poison is going to be removing. Now, before that, alcohol was hurting your ability for your synapses to be formed, that gray matter to be formed quicker. Without it, now you can learn so much better and faster. So I say, take that strategy and use it, put it to work, learning a hobby that you wanted to learn. Read this information so you can digest it and then understand the relationship with alcohol, and then exercise, because when you're drinking, alcohol makes it really hard to lose weight. It makes it really hard to gain muscle. If you stop drinking and you're putting that exercise into your life, you're kind of fast forwarding your ability to gain these things. So if you do those three things in conjunction over a 90-day period, and I tell people this, you don't have to do all three of them every day, right? That might be a little too much, 90 days, try to do all three. No, do two of the three every day. So two of the three, either exercise 30 minutes a day, read 30 minutes a day, or practice a new hobby for 30 minutes a day. 2 out of 3 every day. So that gives you the flexibility to create whatever matrix you want to create. But it's those three things over a 90-day period, the dry 90 challenge. And then I say, as I always say, do that over 90 days. And then at the end of those 90 days, if your life isn't better or you haven't seen significant gains, go back to drinking then. Clearly, the alcohol was serving you. I'm not going to argue with the results. If you don't feel like it's better, you need to go back to drinking. But I feel very confidently that after doing those three things in conjunction and not drinking, you're going to experience some things that's going to make you say, all right, I think Ken and DuPay may have been onto something, and this might need to be extended a little bit to see where it can go.
Yeah. And I absolutely agree. I say it all the time, 90 days, 100 days is the time when you really see the benefits. And I'm all for, listen, I do a 21-day challenge. I'm all for sort of dry Januaries where you do 31 days, sober Octobers, but you need to keep going
Got to
in
keep
order
going.
to really see the benefits. But I think it puts some people off thinking they've got to go straight to the 90. And so a lot of people want to take that shorter break, but I certainly think I would say do the dry January, but keep going and follow Ken's 3 things. I love it. And it's really simple, right? 30 minutes, do two of the three.
Two of the
Two of the
three.
three, which
Two of the three
is
every day. So you can,
every day.
yep, you create the structure however you got it. You're in control, just two of the three. And I think something is better than nothing. So you're right. If you can do 30 days, 20, do something. And then I think you'll experience some good stuff and then extend it from there.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I love that. That's really, really great advice. So thank you for sharing.
No problem.
You keep using the phrase, and it's a new phrase to me, alcohol consciousness. And I
Yeah.
love it. And so tell me, where did that come from? And what do you mean by it?
Yeah, for me, alcohol consciousness, the term came because I didn't want to use the word sober, right? For me. And the reason I didn't see myself ascribed to sober, because every time you would hear that word, people would be like, oh, I didn't know you had a drinking problem. They just thought I was an alcoholic ready to sell my body to somebody. I'm like, what? No, like, what are you talking about? Like, Ken, I didn't know it was that bad. Are you okay? Like, oh my goodness. And I was like, no, we were drinking 2 weeks ago. I wasn't, you were drinking more than I was. I'm not an alcoholic. So when people say sober, I just feel like it has that connotation of AA meetings and just negative, because like we always talk about, giving up alcohol had nothing to do with hitting rock bottom. It had nothing to do with the fear of becoming alcoholic. Giving up alcohol had to do with what I could become. So I use alcohol conscious in the same way people use health conscious. Someone that doesn't want to eat fried chicken, they're not addicted to fried chicken, right? They're not selling their body for a wing. They just know that grease and fat is not good for you. And you don't need to have that in your body if you want to be healthy, right? So just like people that don't eat bad food, they're health conscious. If I don't drink alcohol, I'm alcohol conscious. I'm just aware that alcohol doesn't serve me. It's a poison. It's a carcinogen that increases my chance of liver cancer and heart disease and a number of different things for me to age. So why should I want to drink that? Like, no, it has nothing to do with me having an issue. It has with me having a sense of wellness for myself and understanding that it's not a choice I want to make. So that's why I coined that term, because I wanted it to not have the negatives. Because if you tell people you're sober, they always think you have a problem or you had a problem. So I like the term, I'm alcohol conscious. And I tell people it's actually not even about not drinking at all, in my opinion. Alcohol consciousness is about just understanding, recognizing what alcohol does for you or is negatively affecting you, and you, eyes wide open, making the decision to drink or not. So you can drink and still be alcohol conscious. Hopefully, if you are conscious, you're trying not to drink that much and you're hopefully planning on just quitting one day. But that even doesn't mean that you don't drink at all. It just means that you're educated on what alcohol does to you. You're aware of the negative side effects and you're deciding to drink or not to drink based on that information.
I think it's a great phrase. And I was similar. I was very much alcohol free was the only word that I would use. I wouldn't refer to myself as sober. I'm a bit more relaxed in the sober terms now, but I still very much describe myself as alcohol free. So I get your alcohol consciousness. It's so funny how people jump to conclusions. I was talking to someone the other day and telling them, and I never met them before, so they were asking me what I was doing. And I was talking about it and they were like, oh, right. So, yeah, lots of people do have problems with alcohol, don't they? And I literally just went, it's not what I'm about. And I said it in the nicest way, obviously. But inside, I was just like, why is that the thing that everyone goes to? Why do people just jump to that conclusion all the time? And that's again, society. It's so ingrained in society. And when you think of someone who is an alcoholic or has an issue with alcohol, your immediate thought is of someone on a park bench with a paper bag. And that's just because that's what society has said it is. And to your point, alcohol is an addictive substance. So regardless, it's got no class. It doesn't matter how much you earn or how little you earn. It can hit anybody. Anybody could potentially hit rock bottom at some point if you keep on this journey for however many years. And so to your point, education is key because a lot of us read the generic news articles that say alcohol's good for your health, red wine's good for your heart, and that's just not true. People justify it, and again, we know why that is, but it's educating yourself and realizing that actually there's a lot more to it than we're led to believe.
No doubt, no doubt. The alcohol industry, they are ingenious when they come out with the drink responsibly ad, right? And then, and they put it in everything. From a marketing perspective, I was alluding to earlier, we're indoctrinated at a very young age to believe alcohol is what we need to do. And if you look at our television shows and our movies, it is in everything.
Yeah.
As you shared earlier, your senses are heightened. So when you were drinking, you didn't recognize it's everywhere. And now I'm like, when are people drinking like this? I always use the example of what, and it's just the funniest thing because we've all seen this happen numerous times in movies. The boss is sitting in his office. John comes in, and the boss pulls out a snifter and be like, "Hey, John, you want to pour bourbon?" And I'm 43 years old. I've been in sales for a number of years in corporate America. I'm waiting for that moment where my boss pulls out some bourbon and says, "Hey, Ken, do you want a shot of whiskey at 2 o'clock in the afternoon?" Nobody's doing these things, but yet they want us to believe that this is what's happening. So it's just so funny because they want to make it seem like you have to do it, but you do not have to do it at all. It says, so you just got to be aware of it, got to understand it. And then like I said, if you want to drink, it's fine. I don't have no qualms with it. But to your point, alcohol is a drug. I think drink responsibly, they created that term. I also believe alcohol industry in some way came up with the concept of drugs and alcohol because you hear that phrase used all the time: drugs and alcohol, drugs and alcohol, drugs and alcohol. Alcohol is a drug. What are we talking about? That's like
Yeah.
saying notebook and paper. It's the same thing. Like what are we saying? It's because alcohol doesn't want to be associated with a drug, but it is a drug. It is an addictive drug. And if you take any addicted drug consistently for a longer period of time, we look at alcoholics and be like, man, I feel so bad for them and they have a problem. And there are people that unfortunately genetically are more predisposed to alcoholism based on their genetics, but anybody that drinks alcohol consistently can become dependent on it because that is how it's designed to work. And we all need to know that. And I don't judge because I say if you want to drink, just drink smart, drink alcohol consciously, and be aware of what it does to you. And I don't want to tell people what they should or shouldn't do. But I do believe that everybody at the age of 40 should no longer drink. And I personally believe that because if you look at the science and you look at how your body changes as you age, and we all experience this, when that hangover takes longer than 24 hours to get over it, it goes from the next morning to the next day to the next week. You're like, I drink last Saturday and I'm still struggling. It's Wednesday. Right? That's your body telling me this is something you shouldn't do anymore. And I tell anyone, it's like a car. Like when you get a brand new car off the lot, let's say you get a Jeep Wrangler, right? Brand new off the lot. And you're like, man, let's go out 2023. Let's go out and have some fun. You want to go and do some donuts in this parking lot with that 2023 Jeep? You're probably going to be okay. It's a brand new car, sturdy, strong. It's good, right? But you take that 20-year-old Volkswagen and try to go do some donuts in the parking lot, that thing might break. That thing might blow up, right? Your body is that 20-year-old Volkswagen. And when you get 40, your liver doesn't work the same. So it just doesn't, your body doesn't operate. So we already know alcohol is a carcinogen. And now that your body doesn't process it as quickly as it did when you were younger, it's going to sit in your body longer and it's going to increase the chances that will turn into cancer in your body. So the benefits you got from drinking when you're younger are not worth the health risk that you're putting yourself at if you drink when you're older. So I say at 40, everybody should stop drinking because at that point, it really, really, really is no longer worth it anymore.
Yeah, that's a bold statement, but I have to say I stopped at 40, so I agree with it. I'm sure if I hadn't, who knows? I know people that have stopped in their 50s and 60s, and the thing that they've said to me is they wish they had done it sooner. And from a female perspective, obviously you're then heading into perimenopause and menopause, and the symptoms that you get from that are heightened and worse because of alcohol. So alcohol exacerbates those symptoms, and also it makes it more difficult to actually see whether the symptoms are real or if they're being exacerbated by
Yeah.
alcohol.
Yeah,
So
they're in your mind. Yeah,
yeah,
you're
so
drinking.
that sounds very sensible to me, but again, it's a journey, isn't it, for people? So I love the idea of stopping at 40. I think that's great. But what I'd love to touch on is I work a lot with women. I have worked with some men, but as a man, do you see other men doing similar things? I tend to think men particularly don't talk about their feelings, don't talk about their struggles as much. And I think back to what you've just said about the perception and people thinking you've got a problem. So they might
Hmm.
shy away from doing anything about stopping drinking, even if they know deep down that that's something they want to do. So I'd love to get your perspective on men and alcohol and how
Yeah.
we can potentially encourage more men to go on this journey as well. Because I just see a lot of groups and communities that I'm a part of. It tends to be mainly women. You do
Yeah.
have the odd man, and it seems to be growing a little bit. And there are some key men who I know are doing a fabulous job, like yourself,
Absolutely.
really getting the message out. But it's still quite few and far between. So I'd love to get your perspective on that.
Yeah, so Dupay, this is big for me because as a man, I just see it and a lot of my friends, and I fear for them, to be honest with you, about their inability to recognize that this is something that they should consider. Alcohol is the ultimate band-aid. Like it is the thing that if something is going wrong in your day, you don't have to face the problem. You can just drink and not think about it anymore. You had a bad day at the office, come home and drink a beer. You got in an argument with your girlfriend or significant other, come home and drink a beer. You something bad happened where you lost a bunch of money, come home and drink a beer. You don't have to face the issue. And men, as you know, oftentimes don't like to face things. We have this tendency to be very surface level in our interactions with each other, in our interactions with our spouse. A lot of it has to go back in history and how what it means to be a man. And there's just I love that there's just a different conversation taking place today in regards to what that means. And I think the concept of drinking and where that lies in a man's life is a great extension of that. So for me, I really am hoping more men will start as we go through the diving into the importance of vulnerability to understand what it really takes to be a man, to be vulnerable for yourself and your spouse. I hope men will start looking at their drinking as an extension of that. But I do believe one of the reasons men die so much sooner than women has to do with drinking, has to do with us bottling up our energy, our feelings, our emotions, not talking and drinking that away. 61% of quote unquote alcoholics are men, right? 61%. So if you look at all of these groups that you've been in, I've been in, I've seen them, it's always 80 to 90% women. So where are all these men that we know have a problem, but they're not trying to get the help? They are denying their problem, or they're trying to figure it out themselves, or they're just, who knows, they're unaware of it completely. For me, part of my focus outside of talking to college students, because I really hope college kids hear this lesson, not to not drink, just to be aware of what's happening when they drink. I want to make sure I'm focusing on men because I just think more men need to hear this. More men need to hear it's okay to not be the guy that drinks the most in the room. It's okay to not drink at all. It's okay to talk about your feelings. For me as a male, when I stopped drinking, I found myself looking for other men that I could talk to about something more than just the score to the football game last week, about something deeper than just this female that looks attractive over there. I wanted to have deeper, more true, intimate, hardcore conversations. And I had some friends at the time that they're still my friends to this day in some respects, but they just weren't ready to go there because as men, we just don't do that. You go out and you drink, you don't talk about anything serious. You stay up here at the surface level. You don't go beneath that level. And so as I stopped drinking, I found myself maturing, found myself looking for other men that I can have that level of conversation with. And I found myself growing as a result of it. Other men, I think, need to spend more time looking at their life, recognizing that alcohol probably isn't serving them, and then trying to get that deeper level inside themselves to see what else is underneath that they can grow from. Because as long as they keep drinking, I won't say it's impossible to get to that deeper level, but it's a lot more challenging to get to that deeper level for their own health, wellness, and emotional growth. So for me, that's part of my journey. My focus is to talk to men and encourage them to just take a break. And then when you take that break, just so similar, I shared the three things I want you to do. Explore your inner self, right? When you read and you're thinking and you're trying to find that hobby for yourself, explore your inner self and who you are and just get deeper to get to your core. Because I don't think when you're drinking, you'll ever really truly get there.
Mm. Yeah, and I hope that helps the person listening, because I think it's really important, and it's really important to feel that they can be brave and do something different.
Yeah.
I was wondering though, did you find the men that could have those deeper conversations?
Yeah, I did. You know how it is. They say you close one door and another door opens. And so it was a situation, and in all transparency, these are probably people that I wouldn't have hung out with when I was drinking, because I'm like, well, if they don't want to come out with me and have a beer, I don't know what we're talking about. Right. So now I'm going to them and we're talking about our childhood, or we're talking about our relationships, and we're having real, true, honest conversations about who we are and what we want to do. And it's just a maturity thing. And this is the wild thing about this whole alcohol conscious journey I've been on. I didn't stop drinking until I was 38 years old. And I honestly believe, Dupe, without a doubt, if you look at my behaviors when I was drinking, and if you look at the type of person I was when I was drinking, I didn't truly, in my opinion, grow up completely until I gave up alcohol. When I gave up alcohol at that moment, like I still have fun, I still have excitement like a little kid. But when I say grow up, it's that when I came into my own of really maturing to a level of focusing on the things that are important in life and not having those lapses that we would have when we're drinking, where we get selfish in the moment, we get upset about stupid stuff, it's all about us. My behavior at times was like a kid when I was drinking, and now I look back on it, I'm like, man, I was like a 14-year-old in a 38-year-old's body. And I recognize now. So the people that I hang out with, they're just on a much higher level of maturity than I was on before. And I've grown so much because of it. And so I've just been lucky that through podcasts like this, I've met a lot of people. Through different groups I've been in, I've just been lucky because by putting myself in different circles, I've been able to expose myself and meet different people that have helped me level up my game. And that wouldn't have happened if I would continue to drink.
Yeah, I think ditching alcohol is ultimately a personal growth journey. That's all it is, isn't it?
That's
And
it.
you become more your authentic self, your true self. And as you say, you learn so much and you develop and grow, that it's interesting, because it makes you wonder, makes one wonder whether or not the majority of adults who are walking around are still 17, 18, especially as they say the brain doesn't fully grow until you're 21, 22. And so actually, if you're drinking at 17, 18, 19, whatever that is, the brain hasn't fully developed and you're already putting all this toxins into your body. And you do wonder, is there a correlation? You do see very immature adults, and is it because of the drinking? It's a really interesting concept that you've just raised.
I would say you don't see those immature adults that don't drink. Like all of them are drinking. That would be the thing consistently. Where, man, I had
Exactly.
one of my friends, the guy's awesome. He's a good person. He'll call me at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, dude, we're not in college. And like yelling shit. Like, dude, we're not in college anymore. You're 36 years old. If you're up, fine, but why are you calling me at 3 o'clock in the morning? I go to bed at 9 o'clock, homie. And it definitely puts you in a state of arrested development that people, and I didn't recognize it myself until I stopped drinking. And then I look back and I'm like, man, that I was so immature at times. I think about arguments I've had, I think about things I've done, things I've said. And luckily, it wasn't anything crazy, but I was immature. And yes, I would agree. Like, people don't recognize that they are holding themselves back, and there's a much level higher maturity in them if they're willing to give alcohol consciousness a chance and give it up, because If not, you will stay at times the same person that you were at a very young age. And I tell people, it's just funny. People are like, oh, you've changed. Well, if I haven't changed, then what does that mean about what I've been doing over the last 10 years?
Yeah.
We all need to change a little bit. If we're not, I feel like there's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. And I think it's a really good point because I think people don't feel they're allowed to change because it's all wrapped up in their identity and they're
Yeah.
known for being the star of the party or for being the Prosecco queen or for being the beer king or whatever it is. And because they're known for that, they worry that if that's taken away from them or if they decide to do something different and change, what does that mean for them as a person? And that's why it's so challenging for people to even make the decision to take a break for
Yeah.
21 days.
Yeah, I tell people like, "Oh, well, why the hell not though, right?" That's why I do the dry 90. I was like, try it out, give it a shot. And if it isn't good after 90 days, 90 days, man. You can do anything for 90 days. You can go back to drinking afterwards. It's all good. But you just got something on the other side that you got so much to gain if you give it a shot. So I would hope more people think about it, give it a chance, because it's been awesome for me. And I think it could be awesome for a lot of other people.
Yeah, you're not giving up anything, you're only gaining. That's what I
Yeah.
say all the time. Okay, so let's touch on your book. Tell us a bit
Yeah.
about your book. I'd love people to go and get a copy. So tell people what it's about and where they can get it from.
Absolutely. So, Bamboozle, how alcohol makes fools of us all. It's really, as you can hear the title, it's around how alcohol tricks and beguiles us, right? It makes us think that alcohol is our friend, i.e., as it was with me when I was in college, my best friend, but at the same time, it's hurting us and it's not stabbing us in the back, but it's holding us back from achieving the things that we want to achieve. So, the book is broken up into 4 parts. The first part is related to why do we do it? So it really walks through the concept of alcohol, the history of alcohol. It walks through marketing and how we indoctrinated and primed at a very young age in regards to how we should drink and why it's important to us. Next, it goes into the part of what do you have to gain by giving it up? So we break this up into relationships, finances, fitness, career, aging. It just talks about all the different ways that if we give up alcohol, you could improve your life. It's not about how terrible your life can be, but how great can it be? And I do this through telling what I call alcohol parables. And alcohol parables are a story where you have 2 characters. And typically, these 2 characters, sometimes they're friends, sometimes they're not, but they're on the same trajectory in life. And they get to an impasse and they have to make the decision of will they continue to drink or will they stop drinking? One decides to continue to drink, the other one decides to give up drinking. And you get to see the trajectory of their lives and how things turn out for them. So people can see if you don't drink, that doesn't mean your life is going to be terrible, but it could mean your life could be so much better if you don't drink. So that's the second part. So we walk through the parables, we walk through each of the ways that alcohol improves if you give up alcohol and how your life can be better. And just make sure you're aware of that. The third part is how. How do you do it? And that relates to the concept of the meds. I alluded to it earlier. That is my holistic philosophy of how to give up alcohol. The meds is an acronym. M stands for mechanical re-engineering. That has to do when you first stop drinking, it's about really educating yourself. So we talk about with the dry 90 challenge, it's this in a more long tail version of you reading books that will help you understand all the scientific ways that alcohol hurts you. Now, I tell people when you're going through M, you don't really have to stop drinking. You can still drink. And the only reason I say that is that I sometimes want people to recognize, is this really true? Like as you're reading the book and as you're understanding how alcohol affects you, compare it, drink and see if the next day, do you wake up with anxiety? Are you more anxious the next day after drinking than you were before? It's around really understanding how alcohol hurts you. But the big thing is to read and to educate yourself on it. I always tell people, prime example, I never made the connection that when I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, that it was because I had been drinking every night. I just thought it was because I had problems sleeping, not that alcohol was directly related to it. So I tell people, when you go through mechanical engineering, check me and see, are these things true? Is what Ken telling me or Annie Grace telling me or Dupe telling me, are these things really happening to me? Am I seeing them? So then you can compare to when you stop drinking. Next is E. E stands for exercise commitment. Once again, as I shared in the Dry 90 Challenge, it's just so important for people to exercise really for 2 reasons. One, I am a true believer that if you want to have an internal motivator, I like something that you can see externally. So if you can see the change externally that you're experiencing internally, I feel it's a little bit of that extra oomph to make you say, I'm going to keep doing this, right? And there's very few things that will help you change in your body and the way you look is exercise. So exercise is good because if you want to gain muscle, gain muscle. If you want to lose weight, it helps you lose weight. And if someone's like, oh, Dupay, you look amazing, girl. What are you doing? You're going to be like, okay, I like the way that makes me feel. I'm going to keep not drinking for a little bit longer because people are starting to notice. So it's that little extra external motivation to keep you going. The other practical way exercise helps is that it helps reduce cravings. There's very few things that can give you that dopamine hit naturally, like alcohol, other than exercise. Exercise is one of those very few things that if you work out, you can get that extra dopamine, that feel good, and it will reduce cravings. So it's just a pragmatic way to help you as you go through your journey. D stands for diet improvement. And the reason I use that is that two reasons as well. One, if you exercise a lot and you're eating crap, people may not see that change that you're going through, right? Because it's like, listen, you got to eat, you got to do both, right? And I'm not saying don't eat some bad stuff, but like try to eat a little better, cleaner, greener foods. And the reason I say green, precious food is because a lot of green foods have folate and B12 in them. And that is also known from a pragmatic perspective to help reduce cravings as well. So healthy eating not only will help you see that external change, but if you eat a lot of green leafy vegetables in food with folate and B12, it will help reduce that feeling of craving, of desiring alcohol that you could have if you stop drinking. And the last is success seeking. And this kind of relates to the Dry 90 Challenge as well when I talk about the hobby. I tell people when you stop drinking, you have given yourself the gift. It is a precious gift. And, you can use that gift by just sitting around the house and watching Netflix or watching the football game all day if you want to. Or you can use that gift to create the best version of yourself that you could have never created with your pre-alcohol conscious self. Your brain is now release of those toxins. The gray matter and your synapses are able to connect and click so much faster. So you can do some amazing Bradley Cooper limitless stuff. So why not give yourself an amazing goal to reach that you could have never done before? For me, it was to learn Korean. My wife is Korean. So I could have never learned Korean prior to that. And I wanted to learn it to be able to speak to her family, just thought it'd be a good gesture. And I've always wanted to learn a different language that had characters other than alphabet characters, right? I thought it would be awesome for me. And my pre-alcohol conscious self could have never done. There's no way I would have been able to grasp the letters and the writing, the enunciation. I was too fogged up. Like my brain was like, I told you, I was living in fog for 19 years. There's no way I could have done it. So when I stopped drinking and everything was in HD, I was able to grow and learn, and that just kept me going. And I tell people success seeking is the most important step of your journey because it shows you, one, what you're capable of. That's so important that you really want to see what you're capable of and you want to push that envelope. But two, and this is something I call the wallet analogy, and I think I may have shared this, you're investing in yourself, right? I tell people the wallet analogy is when, and I give Jeff Graham from Back to Zero credit for this. If you're walking down the street and someone tries to take your wallet, right? Someone's like, give me your wallet, punk. And it's this big dude, tattoos all over his neck. You don't know if he has a gun or anything, but he's just a big dude, right? And if you try to fight him, the chances of him beating you up are probably pretty good. Now, this wallet that you have, you just bought it from Walmart yesterday. It's a $3 wallet. You don't have anything in it that you care about. You're probably just going to give the guy your wallet. Like, why try to fight for a wallet you don't care about? It's $3. You can buy another wallet. Who wants to die over $3, right? Let's use the same situation, but this time, big, strong, hairy dude, a big tattoos everywhere. He comes up to you and he's like, give me your wallet. Now, this wallet is one you've had since you were 19 years old. You got pictures of your family in it. You got letters written by your daughter. You have notes you've written to yourself about your goals. You have your credit cards, your driver's license, your ID. You got all this stuff that you're like, if I give this up, the chances of me getting all this back are not very good. And once again, big dude, he doesn't have a gun. He doesn't have a knife, but you might just have to fight him. Now, you might not fight him, but are you at least going to say, no, I'm not going to give you my wallet? Are you at least going to put up a little bit of a run? You're not going to so easily hand over the wallet. You're going to do something to keep that wallet. So the analogy there is that you are that wallet. And the stuff that's in it is you investing in yourself. It's the
Mm.
success seeking. It's you spending time to create the best version of yourself. Because that way, when then something happens where you have a bad day at work, or hopefully not someone dies, anything, a tragedy happens, and you may feel that temptation to drink to make yourself feel better, you're going to say, no, no, even though I feel like I want to do that, I'm not going to do it because I've invested way too much in my wallet to give that back. And you're going to put up a fight to keep your alcohol consciousness because you will never want to go back to that previous person. So that's why I say success seeking is the most important part for everyone. So that is the how do you quit? And then lastly, part 4 is what are you going to do, right? What are you going to do is red or blue pill. Now you have the knowledge, right? Listen, you didn't know before you started reading the book. You got the knowledge now. I don't care what you do, but you got the knowledge now. You can make the decision. So you take one pill and you go back to living your life, or you take the other pill and you live a life on a different level with eyes wide open and what the other side of alcohol consciousness could be. And that's it.
It's an amazing book, and I love the alcohol parables. That reminds me of Sliding Doors. Have you ever seen that film with Gwyneth Paltrow?
No, no,
Um,
that is,
and it's about, a lady who you basically see her two lives and how they can go. So I love that, the alcohol parables. That's brilliant.
I'm gonna check it
Um,
out.
I think that just breaking it down so well, and similarly to This Naked Mind and Annie Grace, keep drinking while you go through that first section. Why not,
Mm-hmm.
and actually see it and test it out. And I think that's a great idea. And then obviously we talked about exercise, the diet improvement. Absolutely agree. If you have a big green juice, you never want to have an alcoholic drink afterwards. It's definitely the
It
the way to
helps.
do it. It definitely helps. And then finding the success story, I think is, for me, when I think about everything that's happened since stopping drinking in
Mm-hmm.
November 2020, so it's just over 3 years ago, you think there is no way my previous self would have done all of these things. And I'm sure you're the same. There's no way you would do it. And to learn Korean, I'm very
Yeah.
impressed. Well done, you.
Yeah. Learning. I'm still on the journey here. Work in progress, Dupe. Work in progress.
We all are. We all are. Brilliant. Well, thank you for sharing that. And so, as we come to the end, as you know, I always ask my guest, what does thriving alcohol free mean to you?
Yeah, for me, it just means building the best version of yourself. That is what I tell people all the time. It's around just not having. I tell everyone, in my opinion, alcohol is the great governor of life, and I talk a governor like a vehicle, right? It's like a UPS truck or school bus where it only is going to go so fast, right? When you stop drinking, you remove that governor. And so your ceiling is so much higher. So it's about just building the very best version of yourself and every
Mm.
day working to become somebody that you can look back on your pre-alcohol conscious self and be like, man, I'm so proud of how far you came and who you have become.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. I love that. Being the best version of yourself. And it's not a competition. Someone's best
No,
version is another person's best version. And it's you. It's like
it's
running,
you,
it's that analogy. You're not racing against anyone else but yourself.
but
It's,
yourself. That's it.
so yeah, enjoy that and don't put pressure on yourself. Just do what you can do and be the best you are. So love that. Brilliant. Okay, so how can people get in touch with you? How can they get your book? I'm so
Yeah.
excited for your book. I think it's fantastic and I'm sure it's going to do some amazing things. So tell people.
I hope so. Hope so. So DTHE bamboozledbook.com. They can go and buy versions of it there. You can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it from me directly. There's digital version available. A lot of your audience is in the UK. So if they're not in the UK, you can buy an autographed copy. If you're in the UK, you cannot buy an autographed copy because
Oh,
I will
that's a
not,
shame.
I can't ship it. Those UK overseas charges are not cheap. They are expensive. I will let you know. Holy schmoly. I had a couple of people buy it from the UK and it was like, I think it was like $30 for me. They paid $20 for the book and it cost me $30 to ship it. I sent it to them because they paid for it, but I was like, I got to
Not doing
stop the
that again.
UK. Not the signed copies, but Amazon will send it to you and they will not charge you extra. So buy it from Amazon and you'll get it quickly. So thebamboozlebook.com, you can buy my book there. And then the Dry 90 Challenge. So Dry 90 is my website, the dry90.com, where they can go and look at the Dry 90 information. Everything that I just shared with you, Dupe, it is there. And it's really just to give people, hey, do this to help out for you to quit. So hopefully I'm not, you don't have to buy anything or whatever. You just need to read the information and use the information and hopefully share your story if it helps you. So that is
That's
it.
so brilliant. I'm excited for you. So what's next for Ken?
I really am just leaning into the college thing. I'm really focused on getting this messages to universities. I really want to start if I can. I've been speaking to some. Nothing has really hit as of yet, but you got to keep trying, right? J.K.
Yeah.
Rowling, Harry Potter got turned down, I don't know, 90 times or something, right?
Yeah.
So I really want to go on a college speaking tour to schools around this. And once again, it's not to preach to the kids. It's not tell them not to drink. It's just to give them the information. I just want you to be aware. You do what you need to do with it. I just want you to know this because I wish somebody would have told me. So that'll be the next thing. And then I'm thinking about working on a podcast. I know the world needs another podcast, don't they?
Always, always.
They
Especially
definitely need
yours. You're so
to.
funny. You'll be brilliant.
Hey,
It will be a huge success.
we will see. I appreciate you saying that, Dupe, but I will tell you, it's not going to relate to alcohol at all. It's really going to be about entrepreneurship. I love entrepreneurship. I love the spirit of entrepreneurship. I love just the story of people growing from starting in your basement to building something brilliant. So it's going to be about entrepreneurship. So I'm working on that, hopefully to come out sometime in 2024. But I just going to take a little time. So those are my two big endeavors right now. So
Really
stay
exciting.
tuned.
Really exciting, and I'm sure you'll be a huge success. So, okay, so anything you want to leave the listener with? Any last nugget or piece of wisdom you want to share?
Listen, Dupe, I think you said it so well that I always echo. Your alcohol conscious journey is yours and no one else's. Don't compare yourself to anyone else. You do what it takes for you to be successful and know that you can do it. And just because you don't succeed on your first time, that doesn't mean you can't do it. You only fail when you stop trying. So as long as you never stop trying, you have a chance to be successful.
Brilliant, brilliant. I love it. Well, thank you again for being on the podcast. I've loved this episode. You've made me laugh so much. It's fantastic. And look forward to keeping in touch and seeing how you get on and changing one college at a time. Sounds amazing.
See what we can do. So coming to a college near you. We'll see. Thanks, Dupe.
Take care. Well, thank you, Ken. That was such a wonderful conversation. And I do hope that's inspired you to look at alcohol consciousness. I really like that phrase. It's a great phrase. And I loved what he said about what thriving alcohol free means to him, which is building the best version of yourself. So it's not about comparison. It's not about doing something that others are doing. It's being the best version of you and really embracing that. And I think that's wonderful. So I encourage you to absolutely get his book, Bamboozled. And if it's of interest, join Dry 90. And so all the details are in the show notes. And again, I do hope this has inspired you to maybe take that break, or if you have just done Dry January, to continue on. I'd love to hear from you. So let me know how you're getting on and what you've decided to do. Okay, so I am very excited to exclusively invite you to the Finding Freedom retreat in Bali. I'm going to be running a retreat at the end of July, and there will be more details coming out in the coming days. But I wanted to let you know, hot off the press, that I'll be doing a women's retreat in Bali for 7 nights, and it's going to be fantastic. The retreat will help you to step away from the everyday stresses of life and step into creativity, courage, joy, and freedom. And I know this experience will be part of you forever. You'll go home transformed and nourished with full clarity of how to fully step into your purpose and design the life you've always wanted. So I'm exclusively inviting you to join the Finding Freedom Bali retreat. And I'd love to hear from you if you are interested, and you can be the first to know. Then feel free to DM me via Instagram or send me an email, and I'd love to hear from you. But I'm really excited. It's a very small group, limited availability, but it's going to be amazing. And it's really for you if you are alcohol free or you're taking a significant break from alcohol and looking for authentic connections. It's also for you if you're looking to explore what thriving alcohol free truly means, and that's emphasis on the thrive. And if you're excited to experience being outside of your comfort zone and ready to immerse yourself in a journey of self-discovery and to really find your unique you. So it's in a stunning retreat centre, which is designed and built exclusively for retreats, and we have the whole space, but it's a very intimate group. So if that's something you are interested in, feel free to get in touch. We've got some amazing experiences, we've got some amazing workshops and daily yoga and lots of exciting things. So if you're feeling brave and you want to have a completely different experience this year, then I truly encourage you to join me on this Finding Freedom Bali retreat. And so again, feel free to get in touch via DM on Instagram or send me an email, and you'll be the first to get all the information. Okay, well, I do hope you have a wonderful week, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Take care. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Thrive Alcohol Free podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe so you get alerted every time I drop a new episode. I'd love it if you could rate, review, and share this episode. Feel free to tag me on Instagram at Thrive Alcohol Free and follow me for daily tips. If you would like to work with me, I offer one-to-one coaching sessions and have my signature Thrive Alcohol Free Society group coaching program. If you're not yet ready for coaching, I also have a self-paced online course, which is a companion to my book, A Cocktail of Clarity. All the links are in the show notes. I will see you in the next episode. Have a wonderful week. Take care.